we're going to finish out this week's show. AEW's holding a pay-per-view event. Pay-per-view, as in you got to purchase it separately to buy it by itself. I know that's a foreign concept nowadays if you're a WWE fan. But AEW Forbidden Door, this is the fourth version of it. It debuted 4 years ago at the United Center. Then it took a turn at the Scotiabank Arena in Toronto, where they'll be going again next month for another pay-per-view. Then last year was at the UBS Arena on Long Island. And this year it is from the O2 Arena in London, England. And I think it's kind of strange because they maneuvered their schedule around, but it seems like it's still the same place on the tour. WWE did the same thing, kind of similar. If you look at their schedule, like a good example was SummerSlam this year was in MetLife Stadium, but the Raws and SmackDowns leading up to it were in Detroit and were in Cleveland, which is strange because the last 2 years SummerSlams were in Detroit and Cleveland, essentially going to the same towns at the same time of year as they had before. And I know WWE kind of always used to do that on a schedule. Like this year, Albany might hold a Raw in November. Next year, it might hold a SmackDown in November. But the schedule kind of stays similar. The reason I say that is because Forbidden Door is normally the end of June, right? This year, it's the end of August. This weekend is been, for the last few years, 2 years specifically, the weekend that AEW goes to London, England. Last year, this exact weekend, they were in London, England for All In. 2 years ago, they were in London, England for All In. This year, they said Wembley Stadium wasn't available this weekend, so they didn't go to All In Wembley Stadium this year. But they still are going to London, England this exact weekend, this exact date, which, because it's the exact second to last weekend in August. That's what they did the last 2 years. An Sunday afternoon show. But this time around, they've swapped. All In came at the beginning of July, end of June time. And this time we got Forbidden Door. So the first question I guess I'll ask for you is, should AEW maybe just kept the schedule the way it was, brought All In to London, and just did it? They said, okay, the Wembley Arena isn't available, so let's just do it from the O2 Arena. Because let's be fair, their popularity in England, right, was kind of waning off because they kept doing Wembley Stadium. So they're clearly still going to London the same exact weekend, the same time of year. They could have essentially just made this All In like they had in years past, just done it from the O2 Arena. Or do you like the idea that they are going this exact weekend again? Because it's a holiday weekend in England. That's why they went the past 2 years. That's why they're going this year. Do you like, though, that they're bringing a different event and kind of swap the calendar around so that Forbidden Door is now in August and All In comes before it?
I like it. I really do. I think AEW has to just change things up a little bit. And I think for our European fans, it's really cool because, as of recording, I believe AEW has already it's done. I believe AEW Dynamite has been recorded because they are in Glasgow, Scotland for this week's Dynamite, which I believe the spoilers are already out. And then you also have Forbidden Door this weekend, which is obviously in London, England. And then we have everything going on WWE. I believe they're in Ireland this week, going into the weekend, if I'm not mistaken. And then obviously we have Paris next week. So for our European fans, it's a good stretch to be a wrestling fan because you can catch AEW this week, you can catch WWE next week. It's perfect for a wrestling fan. And you know what? I know AEW and WWE. Maybe WWE did it on purpose, but AEW, this is good for them as well because
I didn't even think about that they're all literally in England and like the UK and Europe, like at the exact same time, like literally SmackDown's in Dublin. So yeah. Glasgow had Dynamite, SmackDown's in Dublin. Sunday obviously is this Forbidden Door pay-per-view from London. Monday they're in Birmingham for Raw, which is about a 2.5 hour drive from London. So you could go literally, like back in the day, you can go to a pay-per-view on a Sunday night and a Raw on a Monday, just like if a pay-per-view was in like New York City and then Raw was in Buffalo, or like pay-per-views in Philly and a Raw's in Scranton, Pennsylvania. It's like the same idea. You can go on a Sunday, except it's two different companies, but I mean, you can go to pay-per-views in back-to-back weekends, like via high-speed rail, right? From London to Paris. I think, you can get there from like 5 hours time on a high-speed rail. And so you can go from one to the other on high speed rail. If you're in Paris, you can head over to London for this event one weekend. So back to back weekends, you can go to big wrestling events. So I guess I didn't really think about it from that aspect. I do wonder maybe, WDB was, I'm surprised WDB, isn't running Clash in Paris this weekend for all intents and purposes, the way that they've been running things. It is a bank holiday weekend in England, so I don't know if that's the same in France. So a Monday off of work, but they are doing it this weekend. It's Forbidden Door, which started back in the day as that whole New Japan, AEW, right? They work with New Japan. We talk about WWE, all the companies they're working with. AEW is working with a bunch of companies, right? Ring of Honor, they own, just like WWE owns AAA. They work with CMLL, and they work with New Japan. Hopefully they can keep those relationships because WWE's honing in on everything else that's not taken. But this event specifically really feels like that Forbidden Door aspect is kind of passe. Not a lot of Dream New Japan versus AEW pay-per-view matches. This really just feels like an AEW pay-per-view. Am I wrong here?
I don't think you're far off. I
I
mean,
mean, one of the main events for the championships is Hangman Adam Page and MJF, right? Where's the New Japan?
here's what I would say. I mean, you can always run it back with Hangman and MJF and get a good match. So, I mean, if you're going to put on your best card you can put out there, if you're putting Hangman and MJF in a match together, I don't care if it's in Japan. I don't care if it's in Europe. I don't care if it's the United States. It's going to be a good match. So I see what you're saying, but I don't make any qualms about it, I guess. And looking at the card, I mean, I got to be honest, I can't keep up with everybody's their names now. Like Kenny Omega has how many factions has he been in? Like he's a golden lover this weekend. Like what's going on?
Well, I think that has something to do with his time back in the day in New Japan, right? So that's kind of like a tag team kind of situation he had going back to 2000 and I think 2009.
Yeah, it's been
Japan.
about 15 years. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're kind of rekindling that, I think, for this event. Like you said, it's a little bit difficult because back in the day, Okada versus Omega would highlight this event because that was the best of both worlds. But now we have people like Okada fully in AEW. People, you know what I mean, like Mercedes Moné fully back in AEW.
I mean, Okada's facing Strickland too. Like it's going to be a good match.
Yeah, no, that's just an all AEW match. So that's, I guess, the difference we're talking here, right? This isn't New Japan versus AEW because these people are in AEW. Like Kip Sabian and Nick Wayne versus Adam Copeland and Christian Cage. Obviously, the story here is the reunification, I guess, of Adam Copeland and Christian Cage. It's got a lot of flack because it kind of happened real quick, real soon. Not a lot of will he, won't he, will she, won't he, that kind of thing.
It was just like a hug,
It was a hug and they're back together. No, like, can I trust you? Time, see if he's going to turn his back. And then
could we have done this in a Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn kind of way?
Yeah. I mean, that took, they hated each other. They loved each other. They hated each other. But even back, when they'd get back together, it was a lot of like, I would have loved if, like Christian Cage, turned his back, looked like he was going to hit Adam Copeland and then maybe didn't. They didn't need to hug, like get back together, we're 100% back. Like maybe just like hint at this stuff.
It was tacky. It was very tacky.
So, I mean, I'm still interested to see if this is again going to be, I think they're together. I think it's too late. You can't go back now without really ruining it. So you can't have Christian Cage turn on Adam Copeland, right, without really ruining it. Because then then they're never getting back together if they're going to do it. So they got them back together. It's like the John Cena heel turn. It happened overnight. It ended overnight. There was no hinting at one thing, hinting at a face turn, hinting at a heel turn. It's just he's a heel now. He's a face now. That's how this tag team came together. I'm interested to see it nonetheless because Edge and Christian are back together. And it's great because we have in about a month time at Bound for Glory with TNA, we have the final match between the Hardys and the Dudleys. And if only we could get Edge and Christian out of AEW and somehow back in a way where they could join their partners in crime in this. That would be something to, because that's obviously those three teams are just synonymous with each other, but it's good to see Edge and Christian back together.
It's not going to happen.
Timeless Tony Storm is taking on Athena. Athena coming up from the ROH realm to take on Timeless Tony Storm. Athena, if you remember it All In, she won that Casino Gauntlet. That means just like winning the King of the Ring, was for Jade Cargill, right? Or who won Queen of the Ring. This is the AEW version of the Queen of the Ring. She gets a title shot at this event. It's against Toni Storm. Do you see Athena beating Toni Storm, or is Toni Storm obviously too hot to handle right now?
And Tony's too hot to trot. Timeless is going to keep that title, no doubt about it.
The Hurt Syndicate is in a tag team championship match as the champions. They were in a little bit of a storyline going on with MJF, but like we talk about stories in AEW, just sliced and cut, just be done. He seems to be out of that right now, focusing on Hangman Adam Page. But they're going to take on both Brody King and Bandito. The tag team itself is Brodito, and FTR, because as we were talking about, right, they were scheduled to face each other. I don't necessarily know exactly what happened in Glasgow, but the event is already been recorded, so it seems like it's going to be a triple threat match between those two. What do you make of the Hurt Syndicate and AEW overall as the champions, and just in general with MVP at their side?
I think it's fallen flat. I don't think it's been that good. I hate to say it. I hate sounding like a broken record, but it's like you bring all these WWE talent over to AEW, and it's like hot and cool for a second, and then over time it's just kind of meh, and that's kind of where I'm at. And obviously with I don't know if you've seen, I believe it was MVP. I could be wrong on this, but I believe MVP. If he's going to drop, if the Hurt Syndicate's going to drop the belts, it's not going to be the FTR. I guess is what I was reading. So because of that, I think the Hurt Syndicate's going to win. I don't see them dropping the belts to anybody, especially FTR.
We got Kyle Fletcher here taking on Takahashi for the AEW championship. Kyle Fletcher, he's like a Will Ospreay, right? In that sense, he's getting hotter when it comes to that kind of stuff. People are noticing him. At first, it was him and that Will Ospreay kind of feud going back and forth where he wanted to get noticed. He's noticed. He's the TNT champion. He's taking on, like I said, Takahashi, who is a New Japan signed wrestler. Do we see the AEW title going over to New Japan? I haven't really been following too closely in the sense of how many of these Forbidden Doors have seen belts from AEW go over to New Japan. So I don't know.
I don't think it's a lot, to be honest with you. I don't think it's a lot, and I think this is status quo. I think it stays with Fletcher. I think he retains the title over Takahashi.
Yes, I always say that name wrong. I say I'm not from Japan. Help me out here.
I'm trying.
I can get this one right. I know this guy. Sooner than later, he'll be in AEW full time, but he's still a New Japan wrestler. He is the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. Zack Sabre Jr. He's not Japanese. He's from the UK. Taking on another UK alike. And Nigel McGuinness. We know him from his time at the announce booth, his time in wrestling many years ago. He seemed to kind of gotten away from it, but every so often he gets himself back involved, right? He got himself back involved in a match. What was the match that he had where he got himself back involved for a Dynamite match where he lost the championship? I think that was at AEW Grand Slam. It wasn't the John Moxley. It was a champion who before John Moxley. That's going on a couple of years ago now, but
yeah, it's been a few years.
It wasn't.
I do remember the match though. I remember he was. I remember he was actually in the match. I can't think. Was it? It wasn't Swerve, was it?
No, it was somebody he had a feud with back in the day.
Daniel Bryan.
Daniel Bryan. There we go. Yes. Yes, because they were hyping up the match and it was going to be the final time. And they were talking about how, which, I agreed with, it could have been a match in which had a lot more build based on their rivalry and their history. Yes. And I think it ended up being blown off at like AEW Grand Slam, if I'm not mistaken. Instead of like a big pay-per-view, like All In or All Out or something like that. But Zack Sabre Jr., he's entertaining to watch. Like I said, sooner rather than later, he'll probably be in AEW. They love to overload their roster with people just like him. Do you see Nigel McGuinness becoming the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion and having to essentially get back in the ring for a few more matches?
No, I don't see it either.
I'm very curious in this, though, I will say, because obviously Japan is a very high, strict tolerance for wrestling. Like, you're not getting snooky matches. You're not getting gimmicks. You're not getting a lot of Logan Paul appearances, right? They hold their title to very high regard. I remember watching Wrestle Kingdoms back in the day, Kenny Omega, Cody Rhodes when he was involved, Okada, the whole 9 yards, Will Ospreay, 45-minute matches, tons of false finishes, tons of fast-paced action. And I'm just very curious if Nigel McGuinness can give Sabre Jr. that kind of, because again, he's not full-time wrestling anymore. He did take like a good decade off of wrestling before he made some appearances. And, for it to be an IWGP World Heavyweight title, this isn't just like he's back in the ring one more time. I mean, you're going to want to get 30 minutes out of this match. I'm very curious to see what Nigel McGuinness can do with his very limited schedule. He's not as young as he used to be. I mean, he's 49 years old.
Yeah, let's see, he's almost 50 years old. So
yeah. So to see him go in for an IWGP title, which again, watching Wrestle Kingdom back in the day, the going was that was going to be a 5-star match. That was going to be the match of the year. That was going to be 45 minutes or longer. So are we going to kind of see that here in that vein of that championship? I guess we'll see. And talking about the championship, the AEW championship's on the line with all AEW guys and Hangman Adam Page versus MJF. MJF trying to do the whole face thing going on, I guess. His whole little gimmick that he had going on for years where, he was essentially Ted DiBiase and kicking the ball out of the Make-A-Wish kid's hand while he's dribbling the basketball. We don't really see that anymore from MJF. But Hangman Adam Page, he won at the last pay-per-view to become the champion currently. MJF's cashing in his casino gauntlet. Do you see MJF reclaiming the championship against Hangman Adam Page in a rivalry that they've had for quite a while now themselves?
Well, I mean, I think so, because I'll give you my reasoning. I haven't seen I haven't put any title changes, in our on our pod this week for Forbidden Door. So I gotta pick a title change. They're gonna change somebody's title. So for me, why not put it on MJF? I think it's a great idea.
I mean, this rivalry has been going back to the beginning of AEW, right?
Yeah, it's been 6 years.
Yeah, these guys have had some drag out matches, some big time main events in AEW. These are big faces of the company. I'm excited to see this match probably first and foremost. One match, obviously, the last match we'll talk about here that I'm excited to see is the Lights Out Steel Cage match. This is just up AEW's alley. This just reminds me like the Stadium Stampede, or what's that other one with like the exploding cage? It was just like a lot of people, a lot of stuff going on all at once, right? I guess the Stadium Stampede is similar to that, right? Because you got, like we were talking about previously, the Golden Lovers with Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi, right? You got Darby Allin, you got Takahashi, you got Will Ospreay, you got the Death Riders. We all agreed that Jon Moxley, after losing the title, should have probably went off into the sunset for a little bit, taken some time off, but he's not doing that. And then you got the Young Bucks here, who I love the Young Bucks new gimmick, and they've got Gabe Kidd as well, but I love this Young Bucks kind of making fun of themselves thing. They were kind of, talking about going back to their Generation Me TNA gimmick for a little bit, not going back to, but, just kind of hinting at it. They have like a t-shirt out now that kind of makes fun of a lot of that stuff. I think they came out recently on a Dynamite as Max Buck and Jeremy Buck. So I love this whole like nonsense that they got going on. It's different. They lost their EVP titles, right? If I remember correctly.
It's a much needed refresh for them, because I think the whole EVP thing was getting really stale for me when it comes to the Bucks. And I really do. I'm with you. I agree with you 100%. I like this fresh coat of paint. It's like a whole new Young Bucks for us, because the EVP stuff, nah. But I do like what they're doing. They're making fun of themselves, and you know what? And it comes off. I've seen a lot of their stuff, and it comes off pretty funny.
And the one match we just didn't talk about that actually has a lot of Forbidden Door involvement. Unfortunately, I don't know all of these people, right? I know Mercedes Moné. She's the TBS champion, but she's going to be defending it in a fatal 4-way against Alex Windsor, who is an AEW talent. But then there is Persephone. I think she's from CMLL. And Bo-Zilla, who is actually currently signed to Stardom. She is German, so she is representing Stardom in this match. So we got this Stardom, CMML, AEW, and then I guess Mercedes Moné is representing New Japan because she's got all those belts. I think she still has one of the New Japan titles. So essentially Mercedes Moné necessarily representing New Japan, Alex Winter representing AEW, this Persephone representing CMLL, and Bo-Zilla representing Stardom. So here's one of your Forbidden Door matches for the TBS Championship. But Mercedes Moné, I think she's walking out with the TBS title and keeping all these belts. I mean, because again, I just don't see any of these people really then carrying that belt onto Dynamite next week and really, getting a big pop. I guess that's the best way to do it. A lot of us are getting introduced to some of these people for the very first time. So holding the TBS championship would be, I guess, eye-opening for a lot of us. But AEW Forbidden Door, it's from the O2 Arena in London, England. A great arena, a really cool arena. I've been to it, a weird location. It's definitely a unique building when it comes to arenas. It doesn't look like a lot of the ones on the outside, at least. It's really kind of strange. It has like a mall on the inside, and weirdness going on. And they got like that. I know everyone's seen the pictures, but it's got like the weird dome roof. That goes on the top as well. But it's from London, England. It's if you've never been to London, it's crazy because everything's so very far spread out. So if you're in downtown London, let's say you're by Buckingham Palace, it's like a good 40-minute train ride. And if you tried walking it, it would take you like 3 or 4 hours, because that's kind of how just spread out everything is. But should be a good event. Interested in watching it. It should be another AEW event that starts. It's starting at 1 o'clock Eastern time. So let's say 7. When it gets dark out here on the East Coast, we can expect it to end around that time. Yeah. Very curious because, again, it's going to be on, like All In was on early in the day for everybody. So it ended late, but it ended still like 9 o'clock local time. This event's scheduled to start at 6 o'clock, I believe, 6 or 7 in England. So I guess we'll see how that plays a factor in how late the event goes overall, because it's still going to be late over there.
It'll probably be like 7, probably 7 p.m. our time.
Yeah, because I mean, like I said, it's going to start at.
You know they like to go close to midnight, so midnight local time there.
The pay-per-view starts at 1 o'clock here, so that will actually be 6 o'clock local, with a pre-show starting at 11 o'clock here. So 6 o'clock local. What that tells me is they're going to midnight. They're going 6. They want to go 6 hours.
Yeah, we'll see it. It'll be on until like 7. Yeah, our time.
Yes.